Hello and welcome. This is part of the Be Happier podcast and Crossroad Conversations. I have my dear friend Eric Milligan over here, who is going to join us for this series. And what we will be discussing and sharing with you is how we got started and what we are most passionate about. So stay tuned. It's all raw, it's all real, and it is unedited, unfiltered. So this, what you see is what you get. What you hear is what you get. So Eric, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and share with our audience right now
All right.
anything
Well,
that you would like to.
yeah. Thank you, Keya. It's an honor to be on your show here, and thank you for the opportunity. And looking forward to what this series will produce. I know, as you and I have discussed offline, our intention is not so much to gain notoriety, but just to find those people that are needing the help that we offer. And so, hopefully, in this, we'll be able to win over some attitudes and find those people and get them the help they need so that they can relish that success. So myself, my journey probably started in this particular aspect about 25 years ago. Really, I kind of fell in love with the whole personal development venue genre, and I really love all of the aspects of it, as far as being able to create mental shifts and set your paradigms, and with goal setting and time management, and overcoming your fears, all these things, that's all kind of lumped in this one big ball of goodness, right? And so in falling in love with it, I really had a desire to make this a business, or kind of a career path. But I was married, I had 3 small children, had a lot of responsibilities, and as a result, I suffered with a lot of fear. um, I wasn't afraid of the material. I wasn't even afraid of trying to do the business. But what I was afraid of was taking the risk and the impact that that might have on my family, between, if I lost money, or, any negative impacts from, societal reactions or whatever, that might come back to my children or my wife. And so the other aspect was, that steady paycheck, knowing that week after week, here's what my paycheck is, and I know what that number is. Whereas if you jump out on your own to do some kind of venture, you may make money, but there's no guarantee of what that number is going to be. The good thing about it is, because you are putting in your own effort and you're working for yourself, you get to decide if I want to work harder this week and create more money, or if I want to work less this week and know that that's just not going to bring in as much money. But I needed that stability of that income, just for a number of reasons. But there was that need to have that stability. And so it kept me kind of on the sideline. So I continued to study and read and watch videos and listen to tapes. And, I'm dating myself, listening to tapes and CDs and stuff. But, doing all the research, learning all that I could, going to certain, a few seminars and things. And so through the years, I continued to absorb this information, always in my mind wanting to have this kind of aspect to my career. And so along the way, I did help people, but not as a professional coach. So my career right now, I'm an engineer. My degree's in electrical engineering. I've done that for many years, and done reliability engineering, component engineering, systems engineering, project engineering, and program management. So I've had a wide variety of experience, just in the engineering realm. And then in addition to that, I'm a minister, Christian minister, and so I've had the experience of standing up and giving sermons and that kind of thing, and teaching classes and working with people to help them with their Christian life, which should play into your daily life. I mean, they shouldn't be separate, but sometimes we try to make it that way. But helping them with their lives, or if somebody's getting married, just kind of counseling with them and helping them with some communication exercises that will help the couple communicate, and those kinds of things. So a broad variety of experiences, and the opportunity to help a lot of people, but never as a professional coach. So I've come this far. And so over the last couple of years, it's really kind of been bugging me. It's like, well, you've always wanted to do this. Why don't you do it? And so I finally decided to just clean out my savings and invest in myself. And take this big leap. And it's it's been scary, it's been challenging, and but it's also been exciting and uplifting and inspiring and motivating. And and when you do things like this, you get to meet new people, like I met you. And that, I think, is part of the journey. And on social media, I'm doing a lot of posting and sharing content and things that are helpful to people. One of the posts that I did not too long ago was talking about how that the journey is part of the destination. That you set the goal of hitting the summit of a mountain. Well, the summit is the destination, but you can't just snap your fingers and be at the summit. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on before you even get to the mountain to do the climb. So, all of your training and your packing and buying supplies, and, and the planning of the whole trip, all of that is all part of the destination, because without all of this other preliminary stuff, you don't get to the destination. So many times in our mind, we set those things apart and we don't count those as part of the destination, part of the victory, part of the celebration, but really they are integral to it. So that's, so I'm looking at it that way myself, that, yes, I've faced a lot of challenges with this. I still do. It's an uphill climb. That's expected. Each leg of the journey, I celebrate, because, hey, even though it may not have gone like I wanted it to, I am progressing. I am making progress and getting closer to that ultimate destination that I'm shooting for. And as a result, I'm getting to celebrate the journey as part of that destination, knowing that the destination's coming at the end of the journey, right? So trying to run the whole gamut of the last 25 years in a few minutes here. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now. I've been working with some people recently. I've got a few people that are kind of in the wings that I'm working with. So I'm just looking to find those people that vibe with me, that the things that I say, the way that I say them, the way that I think about things, that they resonate with me. I'm not out here to to build my name. What I'm out here to do is, I feel like that as a Christian, as a person designed by God, I believe that He put a gift in me to help people, to motivate them, encourage them along the way, and to help them to succeed. And so I'm not only trying to do this as kind of a career, but it's also, I feel, part of my ultimate calling. So it gives me fulfillment and satisfaction, and even happiness and joy in just doing this. So it's, to me, it's a win-win-win all the way around. So
Yes. So I am going to recap all of the gems, all those pearls of wisdom, all those diamonds, all those golden nuggets, and reframe them. So you have been working, we have many parallels. I didn't know a lot of your parallels, but towards the end, when you talked about your vibe, your vibe attracts your tribe.
yeah,
The place you are is like when you talked about the journey, let's say you're going to climb Mount Everest. Okay, let's talk about Mount Everest. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
You have to start climbing the smaller mountains. You have to practice. You have to wake up every morning. And it's not just climbing a mountain. You have to stretch. You have to
Yes.
bend. You have to
Yes.
push. You have to shove. You have to work through all the resistances. Like in the morning, who wants to wake up at 4? But you have to wake up at 4 and do your 2 hour, whatever it is. So at 6, you can be ready to get ready to go to work and make the money and be that businessman, the engineer, the professional. And that is all part of this climb, this view that you will see at the top for like what, 10
Oh yeah.
seconds before you're pushed down and someone else will show up. And that is, I'm not getting the exact word for it, but what I'm trying to say is when you are going up this, because I'm in California now and there are lots of mountains and a lot of people on weekends, they go on these hikes.
Mm-hmm.
You meet other people and say, hey, how's it going? And suddenly you're admiring a flower or the skin of a rattlesnake or whatever it is, or someone else's dog, and someone else shows up and they're curious. And you share this time with them. So in this journey, people show up for a reason and people show up for a season.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about being a person of faith, I believe we are all people of faith.
Mm-hmm.
We are all God in a sleeping state.
Yep.
Because the moment we wake up, we are God. We become unstoppable. And when I was hearing you the 25 years ago, what showed up for you up front and center was your fear of your own godhood, fear of your own brilliance, fear of your own
Mm.
light within. And you became practical because we are engineers. I'm a left brain person, you're a left brain person, but we are also heart centered people.
Right.
There's so much you think, and there's so much you feel, and there's so much you know. And so we get in our own way. And when you're talking about professional coach, I think all coaches are professionals.
Right.
So do you see yourself as a business coach, a motivational coach, a confidence coach? Because people love labels so they can identify with you. And they're like, oh, he'll help me with confidence. Oh, he'll help me with business. Or a transformational coach because you can motivate, you can educate, but are you transforming them?
Mm-hmm.
I see you because I know you from the few months that we have been working together. I see you as a transformational coach. But
Mm-hmm.
someone who's thinking of business might be like, oh, I don't know about this transformation thing. But that is what it is. You will motivate them, you'll educate them, you'll hold space for them so they can be their brilliant self, free of fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I can see that. And when you talked about the Christian life, what I heard you say was God gave you these gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And 25 years ago, you had to take care of your children and be financially stable and also grow in your career because you did
Right.
not stop. You did not say, oh my God, I found this new paradigm, this mindset shift. I'm not going to put it in the closet. You kept working on yourself. So
Right.
it was like you waking up at 4 o'clock and doing all the work you needed to do so you could have fulfillment and not just food. Because there's
Right.
two things, right? Always trying to balance. So I need to eat people from our generation. Yes, cassettes and tapes. I have done that. So that gives you more credibility that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, this man knows what he's talking about. This man knows what he's doing. I used to, every time when I was driving, I used to drive, I
Yes.
was in Chicago in those days, 55 miles one way.
Mm.
And I was always listening to someone or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Old Nightingale and all those from those days, Jim Rohn, been there, done that, everything. So any man, any person, any woman of faith, like when my clients come to me, this is what I tell them. I said, like, it's faith. And they're like, okay, how can you talk about religion? A lot of people are like Southern California. And I'm like, and faith is not religion.
Right.
Faith is trusting yourself, the God
Mm-hmm.
within you, that my faith is larger than my fear.
Mm-hmm.
So once, because for many years I did not have a car, and a client of mine said, "Oh, I'll drop you home." And I got into his car, and he had this little thing, "My faith is stronger than fear," on his dashboard. I'm like, what? This is, yeah, the day you said it, I wrote it and I stuck it on my dashboard. So I know, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. This is so good. That
Yeah.
your faith has to be stronger than your willingness. Your
Mm-hmm.
faith has to be stronger than any fear. And there's nothing wrong with fear. Like yesterday or day before yesterday, I put a Facebook post that fearlessness doesn't mean the absence of fear.
Right.
Fearlessness means doing it despite your fear,
Right.
you know,
Right.
facing the fear. I have heard this many times. Like, if you, like in India, we have stray dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and dogs will chase you. But if you stand and you look at the dog will walk away. Like in Africa, if there's a lion chasing you, you stand and you stare at the lion, and the lion walks away. You're bigger than a lion. Like in Southern California, we have mountain lions, and this is the thing they tell us when you go on a hike. If you see a mountain lion, first of all, they're shy creatures. They don't want to eat you. You are not too tasty. Okay. But if you see one, just do this. Lift your hands up and be taller. And the mountain lion will be like, oh, that's a bear or something. I'm not going to mess with that thing. It's like 3 times my height.
Yeah.
And that's all we need to do whenever we find the fear. One of the power poses in Toastmasters they taught us, or on TEDx or something, is like you stand with your feet hip
Shoulder.
length apart
Mm-hmm.
and put your hands up.
Mm-hmm.
Just put your hands up and breathe and breathe. And suddenly your energy level goes up.
Right.
And that is whether you're a person of religion or not of religion, that's all you need to think that something else is possible for you. So now that 25 years later, Eric Milligan, now that you are here, God is like, you did the things, you took care of your wife, you took care of your kids, you took care of all your engineering projects. Now, can you really take care of my people coming to you?
Right.
When I got started, it was in my living room, and people would be like, oh, honey, you need to be careful. I had 3 kids at that time, too, very little. And you have the strangers coming to your house. And I said, they will be guided by spirit. Because every morning I tell spirit, whoever needs to work with me, to be served through you, but through me, by you,
Mm-hmm.
only bring them. Because I work as a
Right.
hypnotherapist, and people will be like, oh, the crazies make harm. And I'm like, I'm crazier than crazy. And God won't let harm come to me because I am doing God's work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
Mm-hmm.
have had that faith, and that has kept me going. So here, yes, and when you said, person bugging me, yes, yes. And who's the person who said the greatest investment that you can make, which is not affected by recession? Um, I forget the man's name, but he's a very famous man. Once it comes, I'll share it. Said
Yeah.
is investing in yourself.
Right.
And because a recession can't, like, God can take everything, or God or government can take everything away from you,
Mm-hmm.
but cannot take away from you who you are becoming,
Right. Yep.
bitter or better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. Uh, yeah. Our circumstances. Actually, it's not even our circumstances. It's because the circumstances are just the facts. I like to use the example when you're driving to work in the morning, or going to some destination. You're driving, and invariably, and I imagine it's the same way in Southern California, somebody's going to
Or
cut you off.
Texas or anywhere or
Yeah,
anywhere.
somebody's going to cut you off in traffic, and you know our initial thought, our initial reaction usually is one of, I need to get them back. Why did they do that? What were they thinking? Why are they being so mean to me? Why, why? But the thing is, it's just a fact. They cut you off. That's not denied. You can't deny that. That's a truth. It's a fact. Everybody saw that. They cut you off. Now, what meaning do you give to that? And
Mm-hmm.
what story do you tell about that is your choice.
Yes.
Because if the truth were known, if you could just somehow freeze time right in that instant and get out of your car and go get in their car and ask them, why did you cut me off? The odds are they're probably going to say, I didn't realize I cut you off. I'm just trying to get to work. And or it may be some story about, well, I just found out my teenage daughter is pregnant and I don't know how I'm going to handle this. Or I just found out I just got yesterday, I got a diagnosis, I've got cancer and I don't know what I'm going to do about this. I mean, their mind is a million miles away. They're thinking about 500 other things. You are the furthest
Mm-hmm.
thing from their mind. But
Mm-hmm.
when you determine that the meaning is they meant to be ugly to you, they meant harm to you by cutting you off in traffic, now you're telling a negative story in your life that does not support you, does not benefit you, does not help you,
Mm-hmm.
and 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 that may not be the truth. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there are some mean people in the world, and that may be that sometimes it was a mean person and they meant to cut you off on purpose. But that's usually not the case. So,
Yes.
to just jump to that conclusion every time is wrong. And it does not support you. It does not help you on your journey. So, I like to use that as an example because it's something we can all relate to. We've all experienced that. And so the next time somebody cuts you off in traffic or whatever event it is, it could be anything. Somebody cuts in front of you at the line at Walmart or Target or whatever shopping
Yes.
place you go to, or you're going Christmas shopping and somebody pulls up at the mall and takes the parking space that you meant to get. I mean, whatever event and thing happens, and you find yourself getting agitated and getting upset because of that, remember, it's your choice what you
Mm-hmm.
make that mean and what story you tell about that. And if you have the choice, then make it a good story. Even though this person did this thing, I just went around the corner and actually found a better parking spot. Or, maybe there was a mugger sitting in the car on the next row that was just waiting on somebody to park there and get out. You get to tell the story. You get to
Mm-hmm.
give it meaning. So give it a meaning that supports you. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
lie to yourself because that's not going to help you either. But
Mm-hmm.
give it some valid meaning that is supportive to you and your journey.
Mm-hmm.
Couple of things that you said earlier about faith. you know I like the way you define faith. I have a little bit different definition that I like to use, and that faith is a decision about your beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So many times we look at faith as an emotion, but faith is
Mm-hmm.
not an emotion. Faith is a belief, it's a decision. And
Yes.
so if you think your faith is um, if you think your faith is an emotion, well, how often during the day are you happy, and then then you turn right around and you're sad, and then later in the day you're happy again, and then you turn around and you're sad again, and your emotions are all over the place. And in
Yes.
fact, going back to the person cutting you off in traffic example, that's a prime example of something playing with your emotions, because you're agitated, you're already in traffic, you're probably running late, people are not moving as fast as you want them to, and now here's somebody cutting you off. So now it has just pricked your emotions, and you get upset and frustrated and angry, and we have road rage and all these things. And for what? The fact
Mm-hmm.
is, you don't know why they cut you off. They may be having the worst day they've ever had. How would you feel if you were oblivious and you accidentally cut somebody off and they get out and they come up to your car and they shoot you because they're angry because you cut them off? How could
Mm-hmm.
you dare do that? And you didn't even realize you did it. So
Mm-hmm.
just think about those things. When things happen, it's just a fact. Now
Yes.
choose the story that goes with that fact that supports your story, your life story, because that's what our life is. And so your faith is a decision. So In those moments, choose what it is you want to believe. If you choose to believe that every person that cuts you off has some bad vendetta for you, has some intention to do you negative things and harm, well, that's a belief that's not going to help you get very far. You're going to always be the victim. But
Yes.
you have the option to choose a different belief about that fact. And so
Mm-hmm.
use your faith. Like you said, faith is not always a religious thing. Faith is not always about seeking God, even. I mean, to use a driving example again, if you're on a 2-lane highway, traffic going and meeting, right? You have to have faith whenever you're meeting somebody in that other lane. You got to have faith that they stay in their lane. Otherwise, you
Mm-hmm.
hit head on and you're both dead.
Yes.
But we don't even think about that. But we make that faithful decision. I'm going to keep on driving because I believe they're going to stay in their lane. So we
Mm-hmm.
use faith all the time, but we make it this spectacular thing that, oh, it's faith, it's religious, it's spiritual. It's a decision. What do you
Yes.
believe, and live by your faith? Live by
Mm-hmm.
that belief. And then the other thing was, you were talking about having your faith be stronger than your fears, and that's true as well. And I don't remember who it was. I think there's been many people that have reiterated this, and that is, that courage. A lot of people wish they had the courage to do something, and they think that courage is when you overcome all your fears. And those people who have been recognized as the most courageous in history have consistently said that courage is not the absence of fear, but
Mm-hmm.
courage is the decision to act
Mm-hmm.
in spite of the fear.
Absolutely.
I've got to do something. I can't just stand here. I can't just sit here. I've got to do something. So courage is going ahead and moving even though the fear is there.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing, hey, I've made a decision. I'm going to go do this thing even though I'm afraid, even though I'm scared, even though I don't know how it's going to turn out, but
Mm-hmm.
I have chosen to believe this is the right thing for me to do, and I'm going to act on that.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we are doing today, right? We don't know how
Yeah,
this is
that's
going to
right.
show up, who's
That's
going to
right.
watch, who's going to hear, who's going to show up and say, hey, I need a bit more of you. And that leads you to hope,
Mm-hmm.
because without hope, you can't even live.
Right.
But hope is not going to pay the bill,
Yeah.
right? That's when you need someone else to lean on to, whether it's a
Right.
community or an individual or whatever have you. So
Mm-hmm.
you can continue. Like, okay,
Right.
this person, I always know, because the person on the other side of the road that's coming and that you meet also wants to go home and be
Mm-hmm.
with their loved ones.
Right.
So they have no reason or intention to come across. Like you said, yes, there is sometimes evil forces. We can't deny that. So we don't do stupid stuff.
Right.
But we trust in the good of humanity and in the goodness of the universe. And for those of us who believe in God, is that there are no accidents.
Yeah.
Accidents do happen. We met by chance. What is the possibilities in like one
Right.
in 8 billion that Eric Milligan from Alabama, Coach Keya from Ventura, from Texas, we meet, and then we create this possibility for you, my dear friend, to participate in this conversation,
Right.
to be with us here today. And when you talked about fact, and then you called it an event, and I'm like, yes, that's what I say. I say it's an event, because an
Mm-hmm.
event is an event. And it took me years. It took me years. And I, as a writer, for me, it's like when I write, and as a hypnotherapist too, I know, because when I
Mm-hmm.
write, I remember I wrote this pages and pages. An event is an event is an event is an event. Because
Mm-hmm.
think of the scenario. Okay, there's a little zebra, cute
Mm-hmm.
little zebra. We can even give her a name, Sally. Oh, she's so cute. She's just born and she's irresistible. She's so precious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there in the grass, there's a lioness. And the lioness takes Sally home to her two little cubs who have not eaten for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And the mama zebra says, "Oh my God, this is the worst day of my life. I just gave birth to Sally and now Sally is dead and gone."
Right.
And the lioness says, "Thank you, God. Thank you, Goddess. Thank you, universe. My kids can go on for a few more days because they have been starving for 5 days or 7 days." And
Right.
there is a tree
Mm-hmm.
in this African savanna who says, an event is an event. It's not good and not bad. You can't judge the lioness for wanting to save her babies. And the tree is not going to feel bad for the zebra. Will like, okay, there'll be another season and she'll find another mate and she'll have another baby. And that baby will grow up,
Mm-hmm.
will live. And when we can get into that mindset of the tree, being the observer, being the witness, like sometimes I tell my clients, pretend you're watching a movie. Because as a hypnotherapist, we have to do that, right? You're watching a movie from the past, and suddenly they are inside the middle of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer a movie, it's real again. They're back to being 8 years old or 10 years old or 14 years old when whatever happened. So now we do double dissociation. Pretend, because you remember, like we talked about cassettes and tapes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
remember the projectors that used to
Mm-hmm.
go over there, and there was the projector boy up in the, and then there was the stream of light that used to come and fall on the screen. Pretend you're the
Right.
projector boy over there,
Mm-hmm.
and you're watching yourself watching this movie of yourself. So double dissociation. And the first time the projector boy may sit and watch the entire movie. And the second time
Mm-hmm.
he'll be like, he has to run 3 shows a day or 7 shows, right? I've
Mm-hmm.
seen that. Been there. I watched that. I don't need to like get all emotional about it. So he might be watching it the 27th time. So
Right.
he's not so emotionally invested in it. So a double dissociation gets us to that place of where an event is an event is an event is an event. It's a fact. How I respond to that, like if after watching Schindler's List for 27 times, if I'm still crying, then you certainly need to hire either Eric Milligan or Keya Murthy and talk to us. Like, why is it that every time I watch this, and it has been 27 times or the 100th time? And like Lion King,
Mm-hmm.
when Mufasa dies,
Mufasa.
even now, I'm like, when Simba goes like, "Can anybody help me? Somebody, anybody." And I'm like, I'm still hoping that daddy will wake up and say, like, "Kid, let's go home."
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
I've there's several movies. I'm probably a little bit of an oddity from the male perspective, that I am um I'll say pretty emotional. Now I'm not flighty or anything, but I do get emotionally invested in, be it a movie or a book or just when I meet people. Matter of fact, I'll share this little story. My sister's an RN, and she was telling some of the things that she was having to do as an RN, and we were kind of sharing stories as an engineer and an RN, and I told her, I said, I thought about going into the medical field because I figured, as an engineer, I'm smart enough. I could learn the stuff. I could learn what I needed to learn as a doctor. And I thought, I could handle the hours because I've gone through the years where I've gotten, minimal sleep and I've been fine. I said, I think I could do all those things. But I think where the line is that I would have trouble is all the knowledge that I have as a doctor to be able to diagnose, treat, and heal or cure, and I do everything in my power, and the patient still dies. I told my sister, I said, I don't know if I can handle that because I would be so emotionally attached to them. It would be like a part of me dying because I've poured everything I have into you and you still died. And she said, yeah, she said that was really something that was devastating her early on in her career. She said, I found myself just coming home completely drained, and not being able to properly take care of her children. And she said, in my opinion, not being able to properly take care of my children and my husband, and, and just all these emotions just being worn. And then I got to get up in the morning and go do it again. And she said, I was just exhausted emotionally. And she said, I talked to some of the older nurses, and she said, what I learned is that I had to get to a place where, and she said, now hear me out because it sounds cold, but she said, I had to get to a place where I provide my patients with supreme service. I give
Mm-hmm.
them ultimate care. I give them every support that I can. I do all that I can for them to make them comfortable, to help give them an environment that is positive and nurturing, and
Mm-hmm.
support them even when we find out that they're not going to make it, to support them to be comfortable even to the very end. She said,
Mm-hmm.
but the result is not up to me. She
Mm-hmm.
said, I had to disconnect from that to say, some are going to live and some are going to die, and there's nothing I can do about it. I just do the best that I can to do my
Mm-hmm.
job. And she said, if I
Yes.
do my job well, then I can. And she said, and through the years, I've learned to do that. And she said, and I'm very proud of my job. I love what I do, and I've been able to help a lot of people. She said, a lot of people have died, but I'm okay because I understand that's part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, I could see that. And I could see how some people would take that as, well, that's very cold that you don't care that they're dying. No, I didn't say I didn't care. I just said I'm not so attached to it that when they
Mm-hmm.
die, it's like a part of me's dying. I'm doing everything I can, just like I did before. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just not so attached to them as I was.
Yes. And that is where the coaching comes in, that is
Right.
in Buddhism we call about, I don't know if they say it or not, but I'm just throwing that in. It's like to live with no attachments, live with no expectations,
Mm-hmm.
because you can do everything you need to do when you have children, I have children, but how they will come out is not up to me. How they will turn out is not up to me. I can only do what I can do and love them till the end. Like, I came to this country in 1992, and one of the news that hit me was about Jeffrey Dahmer,
Mm,
1992. And I was watching WGN, and his mother was being interviewed, and she said, I did not give birth to a murderer. I did
mm,
not raise. And I was 26 at that time. And I was like, that's true.
mm-hmm.
Because when I heard about this happened, how can anyone do this? And then when I
Right.
looked at that lady on the television screen and she says, I did not give birth to a murderer. I did not raise a murderer. And I was like, I wasn't a mother at that time. I did not have my own children, but I was like, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is part of something so much bigger
Oh yeah.
than I will ever get it, than I will ever understand. So
Yeah.
when we work with our clients, like when they tell us, you need to have a good group program and you need to do this in 4 sessions, you need to do this in 8 sessions. Or I'm like, no, everyone is as unique as their fingerprint. It is their soul signature. I do not have a black dress in which I can fit everyone in and it's a one size fits all,
Right.
because it is so much deeper work. You
Yes.
have your unique story, you have your unique song in your heart. You are so unique and so precious. And even biologically, your fingerprint does not exist anywhere else, not in
Mm-hmm.
the past, not in the future. That
Right.
shows how powerful you are. So when I sit with someone, it is extremely intimate, it's completely one on one. Nothing from the past, nothing from the future. And there is that saying, you don't step into the same river twice, because
Mm-hmm.
you have changed and so has the river.
Mm-hmm.
So each client you work with, Eric, I know that they will get a completely individualized experience and you will hold space for them,
Right.
for their brilliance to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like carrots, it's like lettuce, it's like tomatoes. No matter how much GMO you do it, there's always one slightly bigger or juicier or fatter or rounder.
Mm-hmm.
And that is God, that is sunshine, that is a combination of the nutrients and the water and the earth and the air and
Right.
creating that. So our clients are that precious, that unique. And yeah, yes, we might be part of a statistic, but when you talked about your sister being the nurse, it is like you do your best, and there comes a time when you have to sit back and let a bigger power than you do whatever needs to be done. I mean,
Right.
I don't want
Yeah.
to say anything anymore right now. I think I'm feeling very complete over here. So what is it, Eric, if that you want to leave our listener with, our audience with right now?
So I teach a class at a men's home where these men are um, they've suffered through substance and alcohol abuse. They've been to prison. Their families have been destroyed. From the traditional sense. Um, they just been in and out of prison, and different programs and things. And so this program is a discipleship program. So it is a Christian program. So we try to get them to strengthen their relationship to God. As a Christian, we believe that brings stability to your life. And so in that stability, help them to learn skills uh, and adjust their mindset to be prepared to go back into the world in a productive way, in a way that gives them the strength they need to walk the path that's laid out for them. We all have a path that we're walking. And, even the Bible, in Psalm 23 says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Well, right before that, he says, he leads me in paths of righteousness. So sometimes being led in the path of righteousness goes through the valley of the shadow of death. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's, sometimes there are hard things we go through, but the hard things we go through bring out who we really are. It develops us into who we're supposed to be. It gives, if we'll, you said it earlier, I think, when we were talking about, it'll either make you bitter or it'll make you better. But it all depends on the meaning and the story that you tell about those facts. So, tell a story that makes you better, not bitter. And I would encourage you that I tell the guys at the home, I said, I asked them a question: what is the most important day in your life? I said, I'll give you just a second to think about it. I said, what's the most important day of your life? And you see them, thinking, you see the wheels turning. And then I say, let me help you. Today is the most important day in your life. And they look at me funny, and how can you say that? This is just a ordinary average day. It may be an ordinary average day, but here's the thing: yesterday is gone, and there's nothing you can do with it. All of your yesterdays are the past. They're all fact now. Nothing can change about that. It is what it is. And tomorrow is not here yet, and is not guaranteed to come. We may not wake up in the morning. There are people that'll go to bed tonight and don't wake up. And so we have no guarantee that tomorrow will ever come. So the most important day in your life is today, because today is the only day that you can do anything with. Today is the day that you have the opportunity to grab hold of it and take a step in the right direction. You grab hold of it and do something that makes your life better, that makes you better, and gives you that satisfaction and that fulfillment and that significance that I exist and that I'm leaving a mark on the world around me in a positive way. I'm being a better person, making the world around me better, and that's going to reflect and make other people want to be better too, because it has that ripple effect, like the famous poem, of the ripples in the pond. So we just I guess I would just encourage the listeners that if you find yourself in a place where like for me, many of you already know Coach Keya, and what she offers, and I won't try to advertise her stuff. I'll let her do that. But for me, if I've said anything that resonated with you, if I've said anything that kind of touched your heart or your spirit, just reach out. Let's have a conversation, because what's the harm? And if I say something that can help you, man, I get to win because I helped you. And you get the win because you got help. And now you're at the next step on the mountain. What's the next adventure, right? So grab hold of today and do something for you. Invest in you, and let's see what happens.
Yes. Now that you have said that, I have something else to say. Okay. This, okay, before I say what I need to say, how do people get hold of you, Eric?
I'm on I'm on all these platforms, TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram. And you're going to ask me for all of those, and I don't have them all memorized yet.
Don't
So
worry, I will have that in the description. I will have that in the description. So, and do you have a website?
I am working on that. So my website
Okay,
is
so
not active
look
yet.
at this coach. He doesn't even have a website, but here he is for
That's
you.
right.
So I will have all that information in the show notes if you're watching this episode on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. All the information will be in the show notes. If you're watching it on YouTube, they will all be in the description. So get hold of Coach Eric Milligan, your professional business coach, or just call me and tell me, because you know how to find me, and ask me, hey, I want that Eric. I need to talk to him. But now let me get back to what I wanted to say about the learnings.
Tell
One of
it
the
like it is.
tell it like it is. I love that. Uh, when we talk about one of the exercises I take my clients through is, and I ask them to do this, you have to do this homework before you go to bed. And I will ask you, my beloved audience right now, wherever you are, whichever country you are, and you're listening in, do this for yourself. Think of one thing that was good today and say, I'm grateful for that thing. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, just a simple thing.
Right.
And think of one thing that did not go your way. And what is the learning in that for you? There's always a learning. It comes when you're walking. You know, when you talked about righteousness in Sanskrit, we call it dharma. But to get to to walk that path of dharma, righteousness, you have to go through the valley of the shadow of death. You have to go through the hell to get to your heaven. Like gold becomes pure when it is burnt in fire and all the impurities go away, and
Right.
then you get that gold nugget.
Right.
So, what is the lesson in that for you? And then you're grateful for that. Because
Mm-hmm.
until you're grateful for your lessons, they will keep coming back. They'll keep coming back. They'll keep coming back. Whether it's in your relationships or boss, work situation, money situation, health situation, until you get it, they will keep coming back. And the day you get it, and you're like, oh, next time it comes, I know what to say, I know what to do, it'll never come back because you got it, right?
Right. Right.
And that's all I will leave you with right now. And I will see you again next week. Like this video, share it. If it's on a podcast, you're listening to it, share it, save it, store it, come back to it. And let's be the light in the world. And light has two meanings. One is light is it's not heavy, it won't drag you down, you can float up.
Mm-hmm.
And the other light is the light we need to see. It's the opposite of darkness. So you can be both. And angels fly for only one reason, because they don't think too seriously. They take it lightly. That's how angels can soar. And you are that angel here on earth. And let us be of service to you, however you need it, right here, right now. All right, my dear. I'll stop.